Ron Jess. Welcome to Jessfor30, new podcast starting at Brighton High School, the Bulldogs, and got a good friend of mine here with me today, a great friend actually. We've known each other for 30 years, and he says he's only 30, but he's, you can see, way older than that. But welcome, Jeff Minock.
Thanks for having me, Ron.
Sure.
Excited for your podcast to begin.
Thank you. Appreciate that. What we're going to do with Jeff is right away get to, he has the Coach Minock Varsity Club Foundation. We just did the golf outing last week, and I think Jeff would like to tell us how it began and where are you heading with it?
Well, I had an idea years ago. I used to coach a semi-pro football team, and I was a head coach of the Flint Falcons up in Flint, Michigan. And I had a running back who was a really good athlete. We were playing the #1 ranked team in the nation, defending national champions at Atwood Stadium in Flint. This young man had a great game, rushed for like 160 yards, and we knocked off the #1 ranked team in the country, 21-7. After the game, we're talking, and I asked him, his name was Dwight. I said, Dwight, why didn't you go to college? He had Division I written all over him. He was like 6 foot, 200 pounds, like a 4.4 40, lightning fast, one of the best athletes on the field. And he goes, Coach, I never went past the 10th grade. So most of these guys were inner city guys, and I did a little research, and the graduation rate for inner city males back then was under 20%. And so I wanted to start a program for inner city males. And I looked around and I went to different charity organizations. One was called the United Way. A buddy of mine worked at, he was vice president of American Greetings, and he said they give United Way $3 million a year. So I went to the United Way and they laughed in my face and said nobody would give you money for that. So I decided to take things in my own hands, and I have to start small and grow from there. But we're having golf outings. This was our 5th year. It was our biggest year, having golf outings and raising money. And we're starting out helping underprivileged kids around Livingston County that can't afford to play sports. So we go out, we raise the money, and we sponsor these kids in different youth organizations and give them money. We like to say with our foundation, we help make kids' dreams come true, and we're really excited about it.
Well, Jeff, part of it this year, I know you've got Heartland involved. Generally, it's Brighton, Howell, Heartland, and there were some kids that needed to go to the Field of Dreams tournament in Cooperstown, where the Hall of Fame, Baseball Hall of Fame. And I can speak to that because my son and his Howell Hurricanes played there. So we spent the week out there, and you did raise money for 2 kids and their families?
2 kids and their parents to make sure there's enough money for those kids to play, and enough money for their parents to travel and be in Cooperstown to watch them play. Because I was very fortunate. I grew up in a family with 4 boys that were all athletes. My dad never missed a game. I mean, it's very important. When I was coaching here at Brighton High School, every year come parents' night, I would have to walk with a kid that his parents couldn't make the game, and that's important to kids to see their parents at the game. You know, when they have a great game, they want to be able to talk to them after the game about it.
Sure. You grew up in Howell on a farm?
I grew up in Howell on a farm on Clyde Road, and then our family moved from there 2 miles down the road to the corner of Clyde and Argentine Road, and we were in the hay business. My dad used to buy and sell hay all over the United States.
And the friends from Howell, I've always been kind of a little bit jealous of the friendships, although we have a lot of friends from St. Joe's and Howell. My wife taught there. My 3 kids went to school there when Father Rarick was there, and it was a really a solid place. But Jeff has these friends that they've known for 30, 40 years that are fit, for their whole lives, actually. And we kind of went from Brighton sports, playing for, you know, out here, this field. It's amazing because I think of two people when I think of this field. Drew Henson and Cullen Finnerty. Cullen Finnerty was like the next Brett Favre. He won 3 national championships at Grand Valley as a quarterback. He was tough. He played quarterback like a linebacker. And what a great kid. Jeff coached him a little bit. He could speak to it a little more about that.
Cullen was just an outstanding athlete, great leader. He was never afraid to call out his friends if they made a mistake on the field, and that's why he was so successful. You know, he was, as a quarterback coach, I used to say, leave your friends in the locker room, because when you get on the field, you got to be a leader, and Cullen was exactly that. And he led by example. He was tough, and he wasn't afraid to take a hit, and that's why he ended up being so great in college football and then signing with the Baltimore Ravens.
So Jeff, your dreams and aspirations, this today was a dream of mine. And today it came true. A lot of times you have dreams. I dreamed when I was 10, 11, 12 to make pizzas, and I remember doing that. And I remember playing baseball for my dad and winning championships, and that get in front of the mirror, January, February in Redford Township, going through the motion in the mirror, practicing, and people wonder, well, how do you get good? Because you care. And I've had so many dreams come true in my life, with my wife going to high school together, and I was a gunsmith for her father. We nickel-plated guns for Detroit cops. Was a dental technician for 7 years, sales, and at 60, mid-60s, we'll call it, you still need dreams, and you need to go for those dreams, and this is going for the dream. I read a book 2 years ago and called Rob about 6 months ago, wasn't it, Rob? And I called him on the phone and said, you know, I want to do this, really want, but let it go, and now it happened, and appreciate you coming on, Jeff.
Well, I appreciate being here. You know, dreams are only dreams if you don't go after them. Mm-hmm. And a dream that you chase turns into a vision. And when you have great vision, you can make those dreams come true.
Oh yeah. My son has a little saying, and it's a little saying, but it's, Dad, he'd always say, Dad, get her done, get her done. And that's what we did.
Absolutely.
You had Timeout Bar and Grill?
Yep.
And there was some teamwork involved?
I owned Timeout Bar and Grill, which is where the Block Brewing Company is in Howell, for 10 years. And when I bought Timeout, I took it over on a Friday night. We closed on a Friday afternoon. I walked in, one of the busiest nights of the week, and we were super busy. And I asked a girl to help another girl out in her section. She goes, no, I'm not helping her out. And she goes, the old owner used to ask us to help out too. And I said, well, you know what? He doesn't own this place anymore. I do. And I said, you know, you're going to help her out, and she's going to help you out when you're busy. So I called a mandatory meeting that Sunday morning, and I was bound and determined to run that place like a football team. And football teams are only successful when they become exactly that, a team. And so I told those girls, when I sat them down in that meeting, I stood in front of them and said, we're going to learn to work together. We're going to learn to help each other out, and we're going to learn to like each other. And those of you that don't think you can work that way, don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out, because you ain't going to be here long anyway. And sure enough, they all came together. We had to weed a few out and fill in the fill in the cracks, but we ended up getting a great staff together that stayed for many years. I had girls work for me for all 10 years.
Nice.
And that's unheard of, but they would all start asking each other, hey, you want to go to the beach tomorrow, when we were closed on Sunday? And pretty soon they all started hanging out together, and that's when we know we got them, because they got one thing in common, and that's work, and they're talking about work.
Nice.
When they're together. So that was exciting for us.
Timeout wasn't quite Gaines Bar. You got to admit, Gaines is special. Remember our time up there? I remember having some nice shorts on, patterned shorts, and you and I went in there.
Yeah.
What happened there?
I brought Ron out to Gaines Bar.
Pretty funny.
And Gaines Bar is way out in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of farm country. So I walked in the door and I told the bartender, I go, this City Slicker's never been this far out in the country. So, so the guy serves us a burger, and he asked me if I wanted anything else. And then he goes, hey, City Slicker, do you want anything else? And we got a big kick out of that.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Gaines Bar is, as a matter of fact, I believe it was the Detroit Free Press had him ranked as the 7th best burger in the state of Michigan.
This is a little serious now, and Jeff gave me permission to bring this up, so you'll want to hear this. It was Howell High School, early 1970s, and Jeff was a junior in high school, and ended up ultimately having a message for a lot of high school kids, freshmen to seniors, that could learn from tragedy.
I was the only survivor of a terrible accident in 1978. Coming off my junior year in baseball, I played a level above all the way through high school in football and baseball. So a lot of my friends were a year older than me, graduating a year ahead of me. So I was going to a lot of graduation parties, and a couple of my friends that had just graduated, we ended up getting in a terrible car accident on D19 and Coon Lake Road. And those two guys lost their lives in that accident, and I lived. For a long time, I felt like I got the short end of the stick, and it was not a great time in my life. But I decided to turn my life around from that point. Adversity, everybody has adversity in their life one way or another. It's how you respond to adversity that defines who you are. And if you respond in a positive way, it builds your character. And that's what I've tried to do for the last 40-some years here.
I know every day that's something you think about, and we've talked a lot about it. Now, there's a guy in Howell, Michigan, that when I was 13, we played Babe Ruth baseball. And baseball then, when we played, we had 5 15s, 5 14, 5 13-year-olds. And you had to go out and try out. We were on Sky Flores, Babe Ruth baseball. And they had Detroit baseball. Jeff's brother played down there. A really, really super close friend of ours, both of ours, Jim Murray, the Howell varsity coach, baseball for years, played for Jim Leland in Iowa, and just a great guy. But I was 13 batting against him, and those 13, 14, 15-year-old teams, when I was 13, the way it was, we had 50 13-year-olds try out for those 5 spots. So it was an honor to make that team. Another dream. My brother played for Sky Flores. But anything on Jim Murray, Jeff?
Jim's just a great guy. Love hearing his stories about Jim Leland and and playing in the minors. And
he'd say, you know, Jeff.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, and his catcher just happened. His catcher from the minors was in our golf outing just last week, and he got a hole in one in our golf outing. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, we've shared some pretty good. We've shared a few stories with Jim Murray that we'd probably just not talk about, right?
Yeah. Well, Jim Murray's one thing that's not fair about Jim Murray is he's got 2 college football teams. He roots for Notre Dame and Michigan State, and so he hates Michigan, and we both love Michigan. So we banter a little bit about that. Well, kind of a lot.
What about your trucking business? Jeff runs trucking now.
My wife and I, we back about 10 years ago, I was coaching football at Concordia University, and I decided to give up on coaching football. My wife quit her job. We sold our house, and we bought a custom semi. Our truck has a bathroom, a shower, a little kitchen. It's like a motorhome, and we haul jet engines for the airlines all over the country. And so we're only home here in Michigan once a year in August. We take the month of August off, and we come home, do our golf outing for our foundation, and it's actually harder work coming home than it is working. But we enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, Jeff and I really share a love of 2 people right now, and we both grew up in the 10-year war, Michigan, Ohio State. And my son called me last year. He said, Dad, where are we watching the Michigan-Ohio State game? I said, well, in the garage with the heater, the refrigerator, big screen. We're watching Ohio State, Michigan. We're going to watch Michigan kill them. And he goes, not this year. He says, I've got 2 tickets. So we went down and saw it together. And so Bo Schembechler, Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, Bo was like my biggest, I loved Bo Schembechler. He was my biggest idol. I modeled my coaching style after Bo Schembechler. Discipline, hard work, just always driving to be the best.
So back to the foundation, Jeff. What do you, how do you want to continue that? What's your thoughts as far as the future?
Well, the future of the foundation is, I'm a big thinker, and I'm never satisfied, and so I've always looked at things like a satisfied person or a satisfied coach. You're not looking at a winner. Mm-hmm. You gotta be always striving to be better. So we're concentrating on Livingston County right now. In 2 years, we're going to put on a golf outing on the west side of the state, spread our foundation that way, and eventually I want to be nationwide. I want to be the biggest youth foundation that's going to help youth athletics in the country, mm-hmm. eventually. And we're growing leaps and bounds now. I mean, we just took in the most money we've ever taken in our golf outing, and in our 10 event this past weekend, and people are seeing where our money's going. We donated $9,700 last Friday to different organizations around the county and different kids, and so people see that in person and they want to be a part of it.
And you had the band's playing Saturday night.
Yeah, we had Miranda and the M80s playing Saturday night at the Howell Eagles Club. Howell Eagles is a big supporter of ours. They donated themselves over $5,100 to my foundation. And you can donate by going online to varsityclubfoundation.org and donate anytime.
Yeah, I remember those times. We talk about when Jeff and I met. I think the Panicooks had a party, people from Howell, some friends. We were all involved in the sports with our kids. And my son Jeremy, he cut his teeth. He played football for Brighton. With Tim Finnerty, we talked about Cohen, but his dad was a legend here. Great guy. I see him all the time running around town here, and he was the commissioner of the football field. And he surrounded himself with really, really good people. One of them was Tim Lee. And, Tim called me, I could have been 3 or 4 years ago. And he said, hey, Ron, you're around here, you know people in Brighton, Howell, Heartland, and some different folks that could help me. He said, can you help me get Cullen inducted in the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame? And I said, I'll do anything, sure. And I made a lot of phone calls and talked to some radio and some sports people. And it wasn't because of that, but Cullen did get inducted in the Michigan Sports Hall of Fame with people like T.J. Duckett, B.J. Armstrong, those NFL big-time college players. And it was really special to be there with a guy like Tim Finnerty. Nobody works harder in youth sports than that commissioner. He not only was the commissioner responsible for all 3 levels, but he also coached the varsity. So as the kids got to the best they could be by 8th grade, and he had some awesome kids like the Lawrence boys. You know them, Jeff. You know who he had come. You coached some of them. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable athletes. That was fun.
Yep, great kids. Chris Elsey, the Lawrence boys, the Finnerty boys. There's too many to name. Tim Church was a great player.
You saw the Powells today.
Yeah.
Powells had 3 varsity boys at one time here.
Joe, Adam, and John Powell were great players, and just great kids. All of them were great kids.
Yeah.
And there's just too many to name, but I had a great experience here at Brighton, and I just have nothing but great respect for the Brighton Bulldog football program.
Well, they've been great for a long time, and I talked to Coach Lemon out here. He might stop in later, but he's getting ready for Saline on Friday night. And you look at this facility, it was when my son was a freshman and sophomore going through Heartland High School and Little League playing here. It was a mud bowl. You look out there, what these kids get to play on today, we would have killed the play out there.
Yeah, this is quite a place now.
It's pretty special, yeah. How'd you get into coaching high school football? It was a dream, right?
It was a dream of mine, but I got started when I was 19 years old. My oldest nephew was playing youth football in the littlest group, like the freshman group in football, and so my oldest brother, I'm the youngest of 6, and my oldest brother's, I think, 11 years older than me. He asked me, he goes, hey, would you want to coach this team? I haven't been around football a long time. And I said, yeah, I'll coach them. So I go out there not knowing really what I'm doing, but I went out there and I realized I knew more about football than I thought I did. Mm-hmm. And when I was a player, I knew what everybody had to do on the field, and so I just kind of ran into coaching. So it turned out to be good, and we won every game. We were undefeated our first year. I ended up coaching junior football for 6 years and lost 7 games in 6 years. So as every junior football coach wants to do, they want to step up to the high school level. Well, that's not an easy step, especially when you don't have any college education behind you. For me, I had personal circumstances that didn't allow me to go to college, and so I decided, kind of like my foundation, some of my former youth football players asked me about starting a semi-pro football team. So I started my own semi-pro football team right here in Livingston County called the Livingston County All-Stars.
Well, there are a lot of high school coaches today, and I noticed with our kids playing, a lot of these coaches, they're good intention, their heart's in the right place, but we saw some at Heartland where they kind of lost the team, and they would be a good defensive coordinator, a good offensive coordinator, but like you and I talked, some of them aren't leaders and can't lead a whole group. But leading an army is different than leading a platoon, and that's what happened at Heartland. And what happened was the coach was fired, the head coach was fired, and then 2 days later, he's back as the head coach. Not because he was a good coach, not because he was helping these kids and doing a great job. He was back because he was a teacher. And nothing against teacher. Hey, my wife retired as a Catholic school teacher. She was a principal in Ann Arbor. However, that's a little strange, and I think you were probably held back a little in your coaching because teachers, where they gave a guy who didn't have the passion Jeff had to coach and love the game. Like, I love baseball. I coached Connie Mack baseball and played Babe Ruth and all through my whole time in high school and a little after. But with some great players, But what about you, Jeff?
Well, I had my first year coaching semi-pro football. We had an expansion team out of Livingston County. We had two college players that had college experience, actually three. One of them was a receiver from Albion College, one was a free safety from Albion College, and one was a place kicker from the University of Michigan named J.D. Carlson. And we went 6-4 in our first year, missed the playoffs by losing our last game 17-14. And we made the playoffs every year after that. But it costs a lot of money to run these semi-pro teams. I was raising over $20,000 a year just to keep the team afloat. So for me, I got tired of raising all that money. Well, when I folded the team, the Livingston County All-Stars folded, all of a sudden my phone started ringing. I got an offer from the Detroit Seminoles football team, which is one of the best semi-pro teams in the country. I got an offer from Flint Falcons semi-pro team, which was one of the top teams in the country. And I got an offer from Brighton High School and Howell High School.
Nice.
And I ended up going to Howell as running back and quarterback coach. I took the job in Flint because we played in the summertime, and I coached in the summer and then in the fall. And that's how I got into high school. I had to prove that I knew enough about football. But back to your point about these guys being leaders, football, in my opinion, the X's and O's are all the same. And in high school football, everybody gets the same size glass, and whoever can get the most out of it wins. And knowing how to push your players' buttons and knowing how to motivate them and get them to drive forward and be as good as they can be, and making that average guy think he's that much above average, and making them believe in themselves and being confident, that's what coaching's all about.
Sure.
And I was fortunate to get here at Brighton in 2000 and coach the best high school team I've ever been around with Cullen Finnerty. We had the Trent brothers at wide receiver. We had Brett Schurig, Scott Schurig,
Lawrence.
We had Brett Stewart.
Mike Lawrence.
Mike Lawrence. We had some great athletes. Ben Cameron. Mm-hmm. Ben Cameron's probably the fastest kid I ever coached. I mean, he was just unbelievable. But yeah, we had, and then in 05, we went to the state semifinals and lost in triple overtime to the same team that beat us in week 1, 42-6, Rockford.
Well, you had a great story about Bill Murray, who was pretty much a legendary coach here, over 20 years, I think.
Yeah.
But you found your schedule. You couldn't find the time. You were working too much, and you went and told them you didn't have time in the schedule to be full time with the team.
Yeah, I went to Bill. I'd been with Bill for quite a few years at the time, and I said to Bill, I said, my job was demanding too much time, and I said, Bill, I'm going to have to take the year off. I'm just not going to be able to be here. And he goes, well, just be here when you can. And I said, no. I said, I can't do that. I would feel like I'm stepping on coach's toes or whatever. And Bill said, can you be here on Friday night with us? And I said, I'll see what I can do. And Bill said this to me. Bill said, Jeff, if you're here on Friday nights, we'll be a better football team for it. And when he said that to me, I said, I'll make sure I'm here on Friday night. And that was one of the greatest years because I was like an armchair quarterback on the sideline with headsets on, and I didn't have the pressure of really watching my players. I was just watching the game and how the game flowed and adding what I could add. And every once in a while there would be a heated moment in the game, and I would say, hey, it'd be a good time for a timeout right here. And Bill would say, great point, and timeout we'd call. And it's just, when you don't have the pressure, it's much easier to think.
Well, Jeff's major heat he ever felt on this field, other than when Heartland came over and beat him a bunch of times, was...
We were over there when Heartland beat us at one time.
Oh, what happened?
Some kid with number 6 on his back came in and scored a touchdown.
What was his name?
I can't remember his name.
What was his name?
I don't know his name.
Yes, you do.
Oh, his name was Jeremy Jess.
Jeremy what?
Jeremy Jess.
Oh,
his son.
yeah. I forgot about that. I forgot about that story. But Jeff, let me tell you about Jeff. The most heat he ever felt on this field, I guarantee you, it wasn't coaching varsity football or any of that, and any, X's and O's, and he loved that. He loved motivating. I did. I loved when I motivated high school kids. Like he said, when I went back into coaching baseball, nobody wanted these 14 or 15, 16, 17-year-olds, and they were ready to go to Connie Mack. Nobody wanted the team. I said, I've been coaching them for 6, 7 years. But I kind of realized that, these kids, they understood that I love baseball and the fundamentals. But what Jeff Minock had here was the heat that he felt was growing up in Howell, Michigan, 15 minutes up the road. He'd run on the field, and all his buddies would bust his balls, right?
Yeah.
They were all up.
When we would play Howell here,
It'd be...
all my friends would be standing down there, because we used to go to the locker room over here. We'd come across and we'd run in the corner of the field, and all my friends would be standing there hollering at me, calling me a traitor and all this stuff. But it was great. And I do remember one particular day, Howell was undefeated, we were undefeated, and we come out for warm-ups, and we go back in the locker room, and Coach Murray was giving his final instructions to the team before we came out, and I got goosebumps. My hair is crawling up the back of my neck, and I was thinking to myself in that locker room as I'm watching them kids get ready for the game, and their feet are tapping on the floor, and they're all jacked up, and I'm thinking to myself, how fortunate am I that 30 years after I pulled those shoulder pads over my head for the last time, I still have those same feelings on Friday night.
Sure.
And that, not many guys get that opportunity, and I was very fortunate. I worked damn hard to get that done.
Yeah.
But you know what? I got her done, and I was able to feel those feelings. And there's nothing like taking your home field with that band and the crowd cheering and playing your fight song. And
my grandson plays out here for Mike Lawrence, who played for Jeff. Lawrence Auto Body in town. Clint Kilpenhaver's kids here, and he played for Michigan National Championship. His son's a really good player. My grandson, Austin Slazarzik's on the team, and it's just fun. And you still get that. I get excited when I come, almost like a Michigan football game. We have the same feel with that. Your heart starts pounding. We were down at Ohio State, Michigan last year. When Michigan thumped the Buckeyes, that was beautiful, especially to be with my son. We had so much fun down there together. Just one afternoon, you and your son, who enjoys it as much as you do. That's great stuff, eh, Jeff?
It sure is. No better game in the world than football.
Remember the time we almost came to blows? They had been coaching against Heartland right out here the night before on Friday night, and
let me finish the story. We were beating Heartland, and and we needed to get a first down. We were at midfield, and we needed to get a first down to seal the game. We ran a naked bootleg, and they didn't cover the quarterback, and he ran for a touchdown. And he called it a bush league play. Well, you know what? Tackle the quarterback, he wouldn't have scored.
It was pretty funny.
But
we didn't meet each other. That was Friday night. Saturday we were at the Notre Dame Michigan game and met up, and we had a little talk about it. It was no big deal. You know, that's part of it, though. Here's the thing. Even as a dad, my kid's out on that field, I want them to win. You know, it's America. You go out there.
Well, if he was on a good team, he would have won.
Yeah, Friday nights, we all love them, and you know, it's really one of the great traditions in Michigan and all over the country is Friday Night Lights, and that's Friday Night Lights. Everybody gets excited, and it's one of the reasons, you know, I think Jeff and I, you know, shared that love of the game and the love of competing at everything. Probably sitting here just doing it, but I've loved Jeff Minock, and for that I appreciate hopefully many more of these shows to come, and thanks for coming on, Jeff.
Well, thanks for having me, Ron. It's about time I get one of those pickles too.
What pickles? These are the Jess pickles. They're the GD pickles, and we make them, and they're the greatest pickles ever. You want to try one?
I'll be the judge of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been wanting to be the judge of it for quite some time, but I never get a chance.
Here's your chance.
This is going to be great.
Yeah, you ready?
Yep.
There you go.
Crunchy.
What do you think?
They're pretty good. I think they're all right. I just saw an episode of Andy Griffith when Aunt Bees weren't quite that good, I don't think. No,
these are the world's greatest pickles.
They're pretty good, Ron.
I got to advertise. Everybody said you better advertise something. You're paying money for this
I'm
stuff.
glad Michelle does a great job with the pickles.
Jess, I do the work. We made 60 quarts, and you know, we give everyone away. I didn't even have a pickle last year. I had 60 quarts a year. And what's cool is we taught some of these coaches' kids from Heartland this year how to make them. And my wife, Michelle, put it all together, and we showed them how so they can make their own pickles.
Well, that's great.
Coaching.
Yep.
I coached them. Yeah.
Well, that's really getting the most out of the jar right there.